Welcome back to the RPG Maker MV tutorial series level 2. In this episode we're going to look at traps and puzzles for our dungeon. Let's make a game. Here we are back in RPG Maker MV, and if you recall in the last episode we created our new dungeon. We used the dungeon generator to create the basis, and then we fleshed it out and then we populated it with some clutter. Now in with the clutter we've also added some chests with random loot. And so what's the purpose of all this treasure? Well, it's to encourage players to do things that you want them to do. So for example, if we want to get the player to figure out how to do some puzzles, so they might want to try and, they were walking around, they've come to a door, the door's locked, maybe there's a way to open it. Okay, well how do we open this door? Well, here's a little puzzle that we practiced on level 1, and then we go through here. There's a secret passage. Walk through the secret passage, and here we are in a lovely little treasure room. Get some... Oh, we found a carrot. There's a... Oh, we hit a monster. Some spiders came out. We've got cheat mode on, so we win. And then there's some small elixir. It's really overdone that effect there. And here's a lever, and that lever can then open potentially... Oops, we got more fights. This is once again a grindy cave. Maybe this is set a bit high. We might want to set up a little bit less. And there we go. We go through a door, and we find another little sort of puzzly looking thing over here. Okay, there's another passage. Got some slimes. Getting quite a lot of levels here. This is fantastic. I guess that's why you do your grindy dungeons, isn't it? And so then we go through our secret passage again, and now we can open up this door up here. So just come over here, and then we have to pull it from this side. A little bit tricky. Of course, all this stuff's happening while there we go, and now we come through to our... Got a mimic. We've defeated the mimic. Learn a new... There we are. So that's a nice little set of puzzles that you can do. Alright, so how do we set up all our treasure and those little puzzles and the mimic trap that we have there? Let's have a quick look. So the way that we've done that is instead of specifying an event, so if you actually right click and hit quick event creation treasure, okay, you'll get so 500 gold, right? Oh, which is an item. Okay, so we'll just add small health potion. Alright, so what that would do is that would say, okay, this is the event, I'll control the self switch, small health potion, you found a potion. Then it would switch itself off, and that would be the appearance of the chest, and you would never be able to open that again. Okay, so we've changed up our chests a little bit, and we've made this so it's a bit more of a... you can run this dungeon many times. So I've added turn up into the movement route here, and what that does is, that means turn left, turn right, turn up. If you recall from our chest images, so we've got, here's turn left, turn left, turn right, and that's turn up, and that means that it will now show as open. That will be where it will finish off. And then we've called this common event for random loot. So how do we set that up? You go to your database, you go to common events, and you might have random loot, for example, and we've just set a control variable for our random number that we like to use. We've put it between 1 to 6. So if random number is 1, okay, if random number is 1, change gold 100, you got 100G. If random number is 2, change items, you got a small health potion. Haven't added in else's, just using if. And number 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, so what happens is when you call random loot 1, it will choose from this, and I've just played the animation just before that, so it plays the animation and then selects a random object. So you can see what that looks like. If I set my starting position here, and we just do a little play test. So here we go. Got 250G. Excellent. So I also updated my level 1 chests, so you can see they're red and they pull from random loot level 1, whereas the level 2 stone cave chests green, and so I've just done that by choosing the red one here and the green one over there, and then I'm choosing random loot level 2. So if I go to random loot level 1, you can see that you can pick up 100 gold or a small health potion for level 1, for example, or if it's level 2, you can pick up 250 gold or a large health potion. Just change the item, large health potion, so you can choose which ones you want. Okay. I've actually tweaked the items as well because they didn't make much sense to me there, so I've added small health potions, 25% health recovery, large health potion is 50%, and full health potion is 100%. For example, with including, and I've done that for mana potion and TPs, etc. Okay, now you can see with the clutter around the room, we've made these broken objects here, but I've also just added in this, which is a chest, and I've just copied the chest sound. I've added random loot here, and I've just used this sort of plain wood-looking box, and so you can use that to apply across all of the different, to use it on. Just so it looks like it's part of the sort of furniture, I guess, so to speak. You could, for example, make this into a collectible as well, or jars or whatever. And the way that you can do that is to create a event image, and you would just go down to your tileset B objects, and you'd look for things like your jars or your barrel. Okay, and then you would just have your collectible item here. So you just have change items, add whatever it might be, and then you want a health potion. Okay, and then you might do, you got a health potion. Okay, or maybe it's an apple. I don't know. Maybe you got a carrot. Okay, and so you can do the carrot, and then you say, okay, we'll change this. Let's give them a carrot. Okay. And then you could switch it off just by putting a self switch A. Okay. Now this one doesn't have an open or a close, so you could, if you want things to open or close, you can only choose from the chests here. Customizing that later on, you can create different objects, but in this point, it will you just pick something up, and then it will just look like it was the same as before. With the jars, you could kind of do a simple version of an animation type thing. So you could set up a simple jar there, and then you can switch to F6 event mode, and we can actually just copy this event over here that we did with our jar. Instead of the barrel, we'll just put we'll use the closed jar looking effect. And you found a carrot. Okay, maybe we'll change that to a lettuce. Okay, and there we are. You found a lettuce. Alright, and click OK, and so now when we go to test that out, we can see the difference between these two effects. So we hit play, and let's just quickly test it out. Let's see. Oh, nothing's happening because, so this is a bit critical, we need to change this to same as characters so that we can interact with it, otherwise we can't interact with it. So we'll just try that again. Hit play there, and you found a lettuce. And of course we didn't do a switch here, so we have a switch, but we didn't do a new event page, self switch A, and then that will disappear. So we'll just try that again. And now we can see it's disappeared, and there's the background. Alright, now what if we wanted to set up a sort of a trap for our hero along the lines of having a mimic in a chest. So the way we went about doing that, simply copy your chest, and then at the beginning of the chest we put battle processing mimic. So you just press enter, and you go to tab 3 for event commands, battle processing, and because we have our expanded database, we can choose a mimic here. And so we've set the mimic to be our monster that you'll fight there. We'll play this. If you win, then you play the sound effect of a chest, and then you run the chest movement exactly as before, and common event random loot. I've also just set it so that you can escape, and nothing happens if you escape. And we've added mimics. So on the level 2, I've put the mimics in with as this kind of iron, steel looking box, and on level 1 I've put them in as wood looking boxes. Gives a bit of a difference. As the regular chests are red and the mimic chests are wood, gives the player an opportunity to sort of visually identify that there is a different chest in there. On level 2 the regular chests are green and the mimic chests are steel. We've added even a level 3 chest here, and so this one we can actually do in gold because it's a pretty spectacular thing, and we've given it a gold chest. And that will bring up the random loot level 3, which if you go to common events, we've got random loot level 1, 2, 3, and this one has 500 gold instead of 250 or 100. Or you get a full health potion, full mana potion, resurrection prayer, or large elixir. So you can just add different scales of loot. And here we've got this little hoard of gold that you can pick up, obviously surrounding some kind of a wyvern-y, dragon-y creature that has somehow crawled in here and died, apparently with its babies. Oops. So just as a refresher, the stone was done in level 1, but it's simply show choices, push, pull, or cancel. When push, set movement route. This event, direction fix off, move away from player, direction fix on, and set the movement route of the player. And in this case you actually wait for the player to move, and you skip if cannot move. Is speed of 3, 1 step forward, speed 4, and that's just to slow the player down a bit. And that would be pushing it, so you're moving, the stone moves away from the player, and the player moves towards the stone effectively. When pull, this event, direction fix off, wait 1 frame, you move toward the player. Now the waiting 1 frame is critical because otherwise the whole thing kind of glitches out. So the stone will move towards the player, but at the same time the player has also started moving because we do not have wait for completion. Okay, so when the stone starts moving towards the player, just 1 frame earlier, the player starts moving backwards, and they move 1 step backwards, and then it ends. And so we'll just you can see that what that does is you push or pull the stone, and that gets it out of the way. Once it's out of the way, you can then access the secret passage. Okay, so the secret passage is just something like text none dim middle, you pass through a secret passage, play a sound effect, up 1 or something like that, and then you set a movement route. And this time you set a movement route for the player, you're waiting for completion, and we're going through is on, so the player can pass through walls, etc. Make them opacity 50 so they become semi-transparent. Wait 10 frames, you don't have to, that's not really necessary probably there, but you move 1, then you step 1 step forward, wait 10 frames, another step forward, wait 10 frames, and that's the sound effect. Sorry, the move 1 is the sound effect there. Yeah, so you're taking a step forward, then you play another sound effect because we're doing 2 extra steps, and opacity 255 and through off. Okay, so this will kind of vary depending on how your walls look. So if it's a thin wall on this side, you only need to do 1 step forward and 2 steps forward. If it's a thick wall on this side, okay, then you can see you need to do 1, 2, 3, 4 steps forward, and that's why we play the sound effect twice, because it sounds like it's moving twice. And the priority should be same as characters and player touch. So I'll just move this out of the way so I don't need to deal with that, and I'll just quickly go through that again. Okay, so here you can see we pass through a secret passage, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we go fully visible again, and you have to make sure that you set the through off, or else set through, off, or else you'll be able to go through the passage. Oh, sorry, through walls. Okay, same thing again in reverse. Now the levers we set up very similar to level 1, except in this case we've actually used the game.selfswitches.setValue that we looked at in the quest episode previously. So here we've got a door. Door is map 25, so this is map 25, and this is event ID 6, and that's pretty important because you're going to refer to that later on in your lever. And we say something like the door is locked, and this is exactly as in our level 1 tutorial where we basically open the door. using a lever. Now it's direction fixed, and then you go to, there's no switch here. So what we're going to do, this doesn't set up a control self switch A, but when self switch A is activated, then the door plays, and then you activate the player movement route, which is very similar to the secret passage movement route. So let's have a look at the lever. Okay, now the lever, once again, so it has a movement route. So this is this event, and it's direction fix off so that the lever can move. So it's going turn left, turn right, and then it will. Yeah, so turn left and turn right, okay, and you play a sound, okay, and that gives it the effect of opening a door. Now what we're doing here is we're using this script, and that script here is $GameSelfswitches, all one word, .setValue, all one word, and then round brackets, square brackets. 25 is the number of the map, so this is map 25. And this is for event ID 6. That's why event ID 6 is important, because the door that we're changing, its switch, is event 6. We're changing switch A, and then we're setting that to true. And so that will then switch the lever so that it looks like it is facing to the right. And the lever sets its own self switch of A on. Okay, when self switch A is on, the lever is facing to the right. Then what happens is if you press it, it will do the reverse. It'll turn left, it'll turn down, and then it will do game. So the same thing again, a small script, $GameSelfswitches.setValue, map 25, event 6, which is that door, A, and that's false. So it will then lock the door effectively. So this opens the door, and this locks the door. So once again, you can see when that self switch A for map 25 event ID 6 is turned on, then we come to this page, and then that means that when the player comes to open the door, it will activate and the door will move, and will show an animation, and then the player can step through. So what does that all look like again? We'll just quickly run through that, and yeah, we've got cheat mode on, so door's locked, maybe there's a way to open around here somewhere. Okay, so we have to go through here, go through the secret passage, come to the lever, and we hit the lever, and that will, invisibly, just get through our fight, and then invisibly that will then let us walk through the door. Right, now what if you wanted to set up another simple trap? So, for example, we had our pot here where you can pick up an item, okay, and then after the pot disappears, all you see is that empty pot there. Now let's take that and we'll copy it across here and just turn it into a trap. So we've taken the same event, and instead of giving an item, we're showing an animation, play fire 1 on the player, and we'll say something like the pot exploded. We'll change the HP of the entire party. So to get to that, you press event commands, page 1, change HP, okay, and then we'll set the self switch A on, okay, and so we might call this an item exploding pot, okay. And underneath, what we've done is we've actually used an empty or cracked pot as the object underneath the event. So we'll put the event on top of that, and we'll have a look at what that looks like. Just before we play test, let's add a couple more effects. So we'll put in, for example, we might shake the screen for 2 seconds. Okay, and press enter, and we'll flash the screen in red, say. Okay, and we'll also make that for 2 seconds. We won't wait for completion on that, and we also won't wait for completion on the shake screen, but the animation will wait for completion so that it does the whole thing. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so here we are. Bang! Oh, now we've got an effect, the screen's shaking, it's flashing, and the pot has exploded. We look at our hit points, we're now on 50 out of 100. Okay, well let's just check this one. Oh no, that's a lettuce, that's good. And what about this one over here? Oh, bang, crash, the pot exploded. Oh no! And we're on game over because we used up all of our hit points, and the default effect of RPG Maker MV when you run out of hit points or you lose a battle is to game over. Now if you haven't saved, your player has just lost everything. Now that might be okay for some people, but it's pretty unusual in a modern game to just let your player die. So what we've done is we've just gone to some random dude's website. We've got sumrndm.site/game-over-core. Okay, if you look for Game Over Core by sumrndmdde, some random dude, you should find that you can download and install this plugin, which will actually allow you to run a common event rather than have your game over kill your game. So you install that, then you load it up, switch it to on, and now what we want to do is at the start we'll just turn off the command window, so that we'll change that to false. We'll change the allow retry to command to false for the moment. You can go through the details of the plugin and have a look at all the options there. It's got a little video that comes with it. But what we want to do is we want to start common event, and we want to run common event 2 when our game is over according to the game. So when the player dies, effectively, we want to run common event 2. Let's have a look at that one. So common event 2 is common events, our game over recovery. What we've done here is we're going to play our standard background theme. We're going to do recover all. That's really critical, or else you'll keep dying. And then we're going to do something like you pass out from your wounds, then you hear a faint voice, come back to us /N1, if you recall that's the name of the actor. So let's come back to us your name, and we'll make a teleport sound. Now, if the save point on the map is 0, okay, so we're going to have to run through save points and how we did save points a little bit to explain how this works. So let's just go and open up one of our save points. So when we join a new map, we've in most of those new maps we have set up save points. So let's just go and find one as an example. Okay, so we can see over here we've got a save point. Right, and what that does is that actually creates it's got an image there. It says common event respawn point. So I've just copied my common event respawn point back into my cave here, and let's go to common events respawn point. So the respawn point, we play a sound effect of magic. We flash the screen in say white or something like that. We recover all for the entire party, and then what we do, that's just being nice, don't have to do that. And then what we do is at the control variables, we want to create a new control variable. This is the save point map. Okay, so we're going to call that save point map, and that control variable is set to game data, and that is the map ID. So that now inputs the current map, and then what we do is we get another control variable, and we call it save point X, and we get game data map X of player, and then we get another control variable, and we call it save point Y. We get the map Y of the player. We put something along the lines of party healed and respawn point set. Would you like to save? Because that's nice of us. Show choices, yes or no. If yes, open the save screen. Otherwise, exit. So that's our respawn point. So at that respawn point, we have now set save point map, save point X, save point Y. Now if we go to our game over recovery, we can see how that is relevant. So if the save point map is 0, that means that we haven't touched any save points yet, and what will happen is we will transfer player to the fishing village. Okay, and that just takes us straight back to the start point. So that means if you start the game and you run around and you somehow do not do any save, you don't hit any of those respawn points, you'll just get spawned back in the fishing village. But if you hit one of those respawn points, what will happen is you'll get this else. And that will then transfer the player to designation with variables, and we're going to designate save point of the map, save point X, and save point Y. We'll just do direction. Let's just have a look at the effect of that now. If we go back to our traps and we run through those traps again, what happens if we have our plugin manager, some random dude over core active, and it is now pointing to, if I double click on here, it is now pointing to our common event 2, which is of course our common event to game over recovery. So this whole game over recovery event will activate. Okay, so we have an explosion, and we lose 50% of our hit points, or 50 points, and then we have another explosion, and instead of dying and having game over, you pass out from your wounds, then you hear a faint voice, come back to us, our hero come back, and here we are back in the village. So just for illustrative purposes, we've put up a save point and we've put in a couple of extra barrels. Let's see what happens now if we activate our save point. So first of all, we move on to our save point, we save the game, okay, and then we go to our exploding barrel, and oh, kaboom, exploded, okay, there's that, and kaboom, pot exploded, pass out from our wounds, come back to us, our hero come back, but here we are now at our save point. Fantastic. Obviously there's a lot more you can do with traps and puzzles, but this is just an introduction. Hopefully it's helped, and now we're going to move on to our next and final episode of the Level 2 tutorial series. See you in the next one. That's the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, please consider smashing those like and subscribe buttons, as they do help with the algorithm. Now it's your turn to go make a game. See you in the next one.